Hi again. Okay, so this is the third part of the video I am making on divorce. Okay, so if you have not watched this video, I think you need to look at this video in order that you'll be able to follow me, because it's a follow-up video. You'll be able to follow me up to now to see what, to understand what I'm even talking about now. Okay, so that is that. My name is Zion Benumi, and I am still talking divorce. Okay, so my videos, what I've prior to this time, what I've said, the point I was trying to make is that Jesus gave a reason for divorce. Paul gave a reason for divorce. Now, which means that we, and the reason they gave for this divorce were they were they were actually addressing the trends of their time. Okay, so now what I'm trying to say is this: the trend of this our time may is kind of different, so we need to address it differently. Now, like I said, I am very, very careful to ensure that anything I say is from the scriptures, not my own idea or what I think should happen or what people or pastors or whatever have preached. Okay, no, okay, I did the study myself. It was tedious, but it was worth it. Okay, so now we have today what is trending is we have domestic violence, we have people with narcissistic behavior. Should that be a ground for divorce? And I'm going to tell you yes, and I'm going to show you that to you in scriptures. And it again, I'm going to emphasize that it is important that this comes from scripture, because like I said, even Paul and Jesus, they did not go outside scripture. Now, the scripture I'm talking about now is the Old Testament, because anytime in the New Testament they're talking about the scriptures, you know that they're talking about the Old Testament scriptures. Okay, so there are a lot of scriptures to prove that, but let's just leave that for now. That's not what we're talking about. So their Old Testament scripture is what when they're talking about the scripture says, you just know that the Old Testament they're talking about. Okay, so what Paul and Jesus said was in line with scriptures. Why? Because I showed you in Jeremiah, and I showed you in Isaiah how that Jesus actually divorced, and what was the ground for the divorce? Sorry, not Jesus, God. What was the ground for divorce? It was that it was actually on grounds of sexual immorality, which is in line with what Jesus said. Okay, now Paul also gave his own condition, which again it is in line with Ezra chapter 10 that I gave, that they married pagan wives, which is to say they married unequally yoked people. Okay, so now this I'm going to talk about one other category of people, which I can either put it as like a sub under this Paul's own, or Jesus's own, or on its own. Now, this third category I'm talking about, or the third condition for divorce I'm talking about, is if a man, when I say man, I mean either a woman or a man, but if a man has the hardness of heart. How did I get that? Now, Jesus, when he was responding to the Pharisees' question, he said to them that it is because of the hardness of your heart. That is the reason why Moses gave them that law. Moses allowed them to divorce. Okay, so for meaning that it was okay for them at the time, because they had a hard heart, which they still did actually. Okay, so they had a hard heart. That was why Moses gave them that law, meaning that anybody that has a hard heart, that law is necessary to should not say guide down, but to put them in check. Okay, because in fact many of the divorce scriptures that you see it as if you see it like that it was actually to protect women. Many times it's to protect women. Okay, so if you look at it, women generally are mostly the victims of they are mostly victims in marriage, right? Whether like there's a scripture that says, if a man does not provide for the woman, he doesn't provide food, clothing, or marital right, then the woman should go, so she can divorce on that ground. There was another scripture that actually said to the man to not divorce his wife all the days of his life. You see, look at it, that was also to protect the women, because that was like maybe on grounds of rape or something like that. Okay, so you see how that's just to show you example that most of the time women are victims. Okay, remember how it is that Jesus also said that they were hinted that they would divorce their wives. That's from Matthew chapter 5. They will divorce their wife, but they will not give the wife's certificate of divorce. Why is certificate of divorce important? Certificate of divorce was important because it will make them to be able to get their entitlement from their kituba. Okay, so kituba is like is the ketubah is like our prenuptial agreement. Okay, so the man's responsibility is stated there, the woman's responsibility is stated there, the entitlement the woman has if on grounds on in case of divorce is there. If the man untimely dies, what the woman is entitled to is stated there, but she will need a certificate of divorce in order to be able to claim those entitlements. Okay, so that was what was happening at that time. So, but what I'm trying to say is that I'm just trying to say that women generally are the victims of marriage, or victims in the marriage. Okay, it's not just today. Obviously, it has been. Okay, so now there's that. Now I'm talking about the hardness of heart. So Jesus said to the disciples that because of the hardness of your heart, Moses gave you this. So I'm trying to say that if anybody that has a hard heart ordinarily should be able to apply the law of Moses, or should I say law of divorce, to put them in check, or should I say to guide their decision in whether to divorce or not to divorce. So because of that, we need to understand, we need to classify and categorize who are those that have what are characteristics of hardness of heart. So all of these scriptures I'm going to put on your screen. So someone that has a hard heart is someone that lacks faith towards God, is someone that uh, is that is that has an unbelieving heart, is someone that has a proud heart, is someone that has a heart that is unsubmissive to the Lord's commands or to His leading. Yeah, the heart that turns against the Lord. Okay, so that is an unbelieving heart. Okay, so that is the hardness of heart. Okay, so okay, by the way, in case you are wondering, that yeah, the disciples asked them, the disciples Jesus asked them disciples asked Jesus privately that if it is so that we cannot divorce our wife except on grounds of sexual immorality, then they asked them privately, and Jesus said, yes, it is true, you can decide to be a eunuch and all of that. Okay, so if you want to take that, you see how it is that even the disciples at that time, right, they too had hard hearts. Okay, so you cannot still use that to say that because Jesus gave the command to disciples at the time. Even the disciples had at that time. Okay, so there's a scripture on your screen right now. You look it up. You see how Jesus told them actually straight up that they had a hard heart, and you see from there too that it's a heart on unbelieving heart and all of that. Okay, so that is the hard heart. Now, if you want to look at, I want to give an example of someone that has a hard heart in the Bible. Okay, that is someone that you are very familiar with the character. That is Pharaoh. Now, Pharaoh, the Bible said that Pharaoh's heart was hardened, or Pharaoh hardened his heart, and then later God hardened Pharaoh's heart. In any case, Pharaoh was hardening his heart. And what was it that Pharaoh was doing because of his hardness of heart? He would not let the children of Israel go. He will not listen to the command of the Lord. Just like I said, he did not listen to the command of the Lord, because the Lord said to Moses to tell him to let his people go, right? And he will not let them go. Now, what is the problem with this? The thing is this: Pharaoh was oppressing the children of Israel. Okay, so he would not let them go. Now, that is one of the things that I see trending during our time. Now, many times, especially I'm talking specifically in Nigeria, let me put it in straight sentences. It's like this: let her go. I'm talking about a wife that is unhappy in marriage right now. Okay, let her go. You tell the man, let her go, he will say no. Okay, treat her well. Mm-mm. Which one do you want? We don't know. That is what is trending today in Nigeria. Okay, so that was the same thing with Pharaoh. Let my people go. No. Treat them well. What do you want? He wants to oppress them. So that is the characteristic of a one of the characteristics of, and you see that, and majorly it is that you just don't want to submit to the commands and leading of the Lord. The Lord has said that you should provide for your wife. I had made a video prior to this time which you could look up about responsibilities of a man in marriage scripturally. All is lifted from scripture. Responsibility of a man in marriage, responsibility of a woman in marriage. Okay, so the Lord has said to protect your wife, to provide for your wife. There was that certain marriage rights that she has. that you should give to her, and then you don't want to do all this, and yet you still don't want her to go. That's what I call pharaotic spirit. Okay, let her go. No. Treat her well. No. What do you want? Just to oppress her. Okay. Okay, so that is what we have today, that I see that is happening today in Nigeria. So now we know, understand what hardness of heart is. So now that we understand what a hard heart is, you see how it is that someone with a hard heart is definitely someone that does not have the Spirit of God. Yes. So even the disciples at the time, Jesus told them that they had a hard heart. And you see how it is that which was true, because at that time the Spirit of God had not come in on them. That was before, all of this was before the Pentecost, because it was the Pentecost that was after Jesus now died and resurrected. Was it 50 days after then or something like that? That was when the Spirit of God came down, and then the Spirit of God, they were baptized in the Spirit of God. Right now they now have the Spirit of God inside them. Now, for people with the Spirit of God in them, these are the ones that it is only lack of knowledge that will cause them to that will really cause them to divorce, because the Spirit of God will be transforming their hearts. Remember that the Bible said that was in the Old Testament. The Bible said that I will write the laws in their hearts. They will no longer need to be told what to do. They will no longer need to nobody will need to tell them to serve God or something like that. It will be in their heart. He will write the laws in their heart. They will not need the law any longer. Okay, so because all these things are actually things, all these things that are in the law, except for the sacrificial things and all that. Okay, so all those things, that they are actually things that not, if you have the Spirit of God, you will know that is what you're supposed to do. The part that you don't know, the Lord will actually lead you to do so. Now, the only people that cannot be able to do this, or even if they know, because everybody have a conscience, they will not do this because they do not have the Spirit of God. It's only the Spirit of God that transforms heart, and that leads one to do the right thing, and gives one the enablement to be able to do, or to be able to really do the right thing, right? Okay, so anyone that has the heart of God is actually someone that does not have the Spirit of God. Now, if you do not have the Spirit of God, is as good as saying the person is an unbeliever. I don't care if the person is a church goer, the person does not miss any church service, the person gives to the church, the person is a church pastor, the person is a church minister, he's a worker, he's a worship leader, he's a prayer warrior. I don't care, all of that. Those are, as far as I'm concerned, those are all religion. Okay, anybody can fake that. Paul said that there will be wolves in sheep clothing. There will be, and the Bible said that there will be antichrist, and which are already here. That was what the Bible said, that they are already, the antichrist are there. So and that these antichrists are people that will almost even deceive the believers. So they will probably be deceived. Okay. So if we have that, it means that there are people that are actually in this church that will feign the Spirit of God, that will feign the characteristics of having the Spirit of God. But the moment, and then because of that, the believers will be deceived to get married to them. Now, when they get married to them, it's because it's feigned. The original them will eventually come out. And when they do, should they still stay in the marriage, considering that now their eyes have opened and they have realized that the people that they are living with are actually antichrist? Should they continue living with them? No, that is where the hardness of heart comes in, and that is where you also apply that of Paul. The scripture apply what Paul said, that if the believer is willing to stay with the unbeliever, if the unbeliever is willing to stay with the believer, then he should not leave. Now, you see that word willing, I'm coming back to it. Okay, I'm going to address that, because like I said, these people are people that are feigning Christianity. Okay, and they are inside the church. They are not people that, these are hypocrites we're talking about. We're not talking about people that actually open their eyes to say they want to marry someone that is not a Christian. Okay, even at that, even if the person made mistake of marrying someone that was not a Christian and later realized that it's a mistake, well, how about Ezra chapter 10 come into play? Okay, things can be mended. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that those with hardness of heart, the law should apply to them. according to what Jesus said, because of the hardness of your heart, Moses allowed you to divorce your wife. So when you realize that you're in a marriage and the person, it has all these characteristics of a hard heart, then you should know that the law, that is the law of divorce, should apply to this in this person's to this case, in this person's scenario. Okay, so in the case of domestic violence, there is no way the Spirit of God will be in someone and the person will be oppressing his wife, will be beating his wife. Okay, sometimes few occasions it's the other way around. What is the wife oppressing the husband, and but mostly women are victims. So that's why I'm using the man beating the wife and all of that. Okay, so there's no way the Spirit of God is in this person and the person will be oppressing his wife, will have in fact, the fact that the person has a narcissistic behavior already shows that the person does not have the Spirit of God. No, you are not, from scripture, obviously you are not expected to stay in that marriage. Okay, yes, you can actually divorce. That is where I see it. That's where I see it. So I'm saying this outright because I have not said anything so far that is from my head. I've defined the hardness of heart from scriptures, and I have defined I have stated the condition which you are allowed to divorce on this ground, also from scripture. The Bible said because of the hardness of their heart, Moses allowed them. So it was necessary. The divorce was necessary because they had a hard heart. So even in this kind of situation, if a believer is married to an unbeliever, or he realizes that the unbeliever, obviously, since he doesn't have the Spirit of God, he has a hard heart, and realize that the person is not willing to stay. That is willing to, when I say willing to stay, now let me I don't want to, I'll go into that later, but let me just say that willing to stay is like the person is consenting to everything Christianity that the wife is interested in. Okay, so I'll go into details with that later. So here I'm trying to say that if domestic violence falls under this, you have a hard heart, then the law of Moses should apply to you, because the Spirit of God is not there to lead the person. It is the law. The law was not meant for people with the Spirit of God. The law was meant for lawless people. The law is meant for the world. Okay, so anyone that is worldly, unbeliever, anyone that is not a Christian, including those that are feigning Christianity, the fact that people are in church does not mean that they are Christian, then the law should apply to them. Okay, so I'm going to make the fourth part of this video, so make sure you watch this. I want to talk about that scripture that says if a believer is willing to stay with the if the unbeliever is willing to stay with the believer, then let the believer not divorce his wife. I'm going to talk about that now next.